Check, check, check. 1, 2, check. Cash. Venmo. Cash App. Check. Bitcoin. Crypto. Zelle.
He was looking for a life that would give him the feeling of being worthwhile.
Welcome back to Between Two Amps with Neeraj Kane and myself, Fred Ziomek. The channel, we kind of do a whole slew of different stuff. Just the interview format and just us talking to one another about all things punk, gear, and what have you. This episode, we wanted to do a vlog on what it's like coming back and playing shows, and then what that's like in general for those that don't know about that.
Yeah.
For a mid-level punk band.
These days, anything
or
goes.
whatever level
yeah.
maybe.
If you've been discovered on TikTok and you're gonna play your first show at Lollapalooza, or hey, whatever, this might be for you too. Because all bets are off these days with social media. So, but I haven't played a show yet, and this is the first time in probably 25 years that I have not played a show in a year.
Wow.
Like, I've never had this big of a dry spell. I haven't played a show or haven't recorded in a year and a half. So this year's been kind of crazy, where I was like, oh, and then I realized, I'm like, this is the first time in 25, probably since like 1995 or 96, that I haven't played a show every year. I at least played like 5 or 6 shows.
Damn.
Yeah, and this is the first year that I haven't played like February of 2019. No, February of 2020 was the last show I played.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is going on basically almost 2 years of me not playing a show.
Yeah, I think because I did the prong tour in Europe
Before,
as things were shutting down.
Oh, yeah.
So that's like a whole other whole other video. But it was, I think it was March 2020, and then now starting to go out and play some shows, and just recently went to Punk Rock Bowling in Vegas, and just wanted to kind of give an overview of like what it's like going to these like one-off shows where you got to fly in or drive in the case of this one, and what's a day in the life playing the show. Well, heading out to Vegas, got all packed up. It's kind of a great show because we got partial backline, so able to bring my heads and don't have to lug a cabinet, which is always awesome. We're going to play Punk Rock Bowling, and haven't been there since 2019, so this should be awesome. Plus get the drive through the desert. It's half the fun of some of these gigs, so really excited. It's awesome that it's happening at all, especially since so many bands aren't able to get into the country. So we're actually filling in for a band that had to cancel because they couldn't get work visas because of COVID. So I'm just grateful that I get to play some shows right now, and should be a blast. on this gig, definitely, we were lucky we had sound check. That's not always the case, and that definitely wasn't the case starting out in punk bands and going to play shows. Like, we weren't headlining. We were lucky to get on a show. But like that turned into like some really valuable, experiences,
lessons.
lessons.
I mean, like,
and even touring later on, like
Oh,
playing house shows and all sorts of places without full PA monitors, whatever.
This is definitely I'd say that this vlog, podcast, whatever you want to call it, would be geared towards people who, maybe like be curious about starting, but also to reminisce with people who are veterans, because we went through a lot of stuff that I don't know how it works now, but like I have definitely, you might show up to a show and someone's like, oh, there's no PA, we're not going to play a show. Nope. That never happened. Either someone had a bass amp that they turned into the PA, so you'd be running the bass and vocals through one amp, right? Yeah, the show's gonna go on. You're gonna fucking play. Or if there was not even that, then the singer would just scream into. I've never had to play a show like this, but I've definitely seen it where the singer was just screaming. And the band was playing, I don't know how the screen, and luckily the people knew the song, so everyone was singing along, so it's just like, fuck it, So yeah, you basically adapt. You learn how to adapt really quick, and the first time I was in a band that had a sound check, I was like, oh my god, did I actually get a sound check right now? Right? And it was a constant battle with sound guys, and because we didn't have our own sound people at that, I still haven't been in a band with, we had our own sound person, it was they hated you. Yeah, they hated me for sure, because I was the one, like, early on, I'm like, can you guys turn down? And I'm just like, and at this point you don't realize that everything does sound good turned down because they can boost it up in the house. Right? You're like, oh yes, okay, that's logic. But when you're young and into punk, all you want to hear is that thing fucking loud, in your ear, and you're like, fuck, whatever. So I would sound check at a lower volume, and then when it was time to go up on stage and play it, I'd crank it up again, and it would piss them off so bad. And I didn't realize it, but now I realize, when you say turn down because it's going to make you sound better on stage too, when it can give you volume that you want, and then outside too.
Yeah, especially when there's a PA that can't handle having full stacks and 100-watt amps cranked on a stage, especially in like a 300 cap room.
No.
It's like, oh, do you want to hear vocals as well?
Yeah. So you always get the like, I can't hear myself, and you're like, dude, what the fuck, man? This PA's not loud enough. It's probably because the band's playing too loud. Alright.
But also, like, not being able to hear yourself or hear other members, like, I think that was a valuable lesson from playing all of those shows without a sound check, without monitors. Like, one, making sure that you know the songs. Two, like, the show is not stopping whether or not you get lost or not.
Yeah. If you stop in the middle of a song, bad news. No, you keep going. That was the thing. I think I've maybe stopped one song one time, and I got the evil eye from the band. They're like, what the fuck are you doing? You gotta keep going. I could be playing a complete different song as long as I'm going, and that has definitely happened where I've been playing a different song at the beginning, and the band just keeps on going. They're like, oh, did you catch up? Like that, because sometimes you just can't hear anybody. And I think it might have been in the last like 5 years as I started playing bigger shows, or if you're on tour with a bigger band and you do get the sound check and you can check monitors and stuff. And I was like, I guess I'll just try to like, what do I really need to hear? And I was like, I don't need to hear anything except for myself, because I've gotten so used to, if I can hear myself, I'm good, right? And that's why, like, even when I played house shows or something, when we play house shows, you have your amp and behind you, so you can feel that kind of punch. You can feel your own, playing. But even like playing big, hey, do you want the other guitar player? Nah. Do you want the bass player? Nope. kick and snare, yes, because
Yeah.
that I can follow, you know, and
I'll do hi-hats a little bit too, so depending on the band
Yeah.
and how hard the drummer hits.
Yeah.
But like, I think like having the crash course and becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable, like having those mistakes or having those situations where you don't know what's happening, but you still have to keep playing and you have to figure out a way to get back into it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like, I feel like sometimes I get back, sometimes I don't. Then also realizing that, you know, what you think is actually like happening in the audience and what they're hearing versus what is actually happening and what is just like two different things. Like, I know there's, like, I get super critical of myself for like how well I'm playing at a show, and like, and it's so valuable, like especially at this show at Punk Rock Bowling. Like, there was a couple of flubs that I was just like, oh god. And I had the camera rolling the whole time, and it was on top of my amp, and so it was mostly picking up the stage volume from
your amp.
my actual amp. And what I thought at the time was like, you know, just like, oh god, just pack it in and go home. What was nothing. Like,
Yeah.
I was listening back to it. It's not to say every time I fucked up. You're
You're probably your most critic. You're probably your own worst critic. Is that
Oh
what-
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I used to be like that, and then I was like, I don't care. I mean, because I'm a loose player as is, but like, there's times where I'm just like, oh, I totally flubbed that part, right? But you're on stage, you're not gonna stop. If you show people that you fucked up, people are gonna know you're fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
If you're playing heavy music that's chaotic and stuff, most people aren't gonna recognize it right away. And just fucking act like you meant to do it. I don't know.
Okay,
You
own
know?
that shit.
Own that. That's like, oh shit, I hit the wrong note because I was like losing my mind. You know, I was like, I'm about to do a backflip or whatever. Like that's my that's my go-to. But yeah, for like people who are like, I guess starting out, like, have fun. Don't worry about like, you know, your gear is gonna sound different in every room that you play.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that,
so that's
was
a
another
huge
thing.
Yeah.
Like coming out of the bedroom and getting on the stage, and what you get used to hearing in wherever you rehearse or, you know, playing at home, getting out on stage is a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes like it's a great PA, great monitor, and it sounds like, you know, you're at home.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's other times where it's super shrill, there's no sustain, like it feels like every note just chops off as soon as you hit
Yeah.
the string, and it's just the room. It's, you know, it might be my playing too, I don't know, but
Yeah.
it can be disconcerting, and it can make you uncomfortable. And just the more repetition of that and going through that and seeing like,
Yeah.
it's all the same.
And the
It's
more
like
you
you just play, and then, you know.
The more you like, and I think like the more you
Works out.
tour, the more you play shows, you're gonna have, you're just gonna get tighter, you know, on your songs, you know. So it's like by the end of the tour, you'll be great. It'll be, you know. But it's also different for larger bands who, you know, I've never been in a situation where I've had to use in-ear monitors, or I have the same sound guy or a monitored guy that travels with the band, who's part of the, you know, the crew. In that situation, your stuff is going to sound the same every night, you know, because it's
For the
like
most part, yeah.
'cause it's like they know how to dial it in, you know, and if it doesn't sound the same, someone's going to be like, hey, I need, you know, 2 dBs or 10, whatever the measurements are, you know, to accommodate for that. But I've never played with in-ears. It would be really interesting to play with in-ears. But again, I think that'd be reserved for like a bigger venue where you're like, it's so cavernous sometimes that like you need something because the sound is just going to go out and up.
Right. Yeah, we
Like festivals sound like shit sometimes because you're playing outside.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like with the Brats, that's one thing that we always do bring a sound guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great, but it's also kind of subject to, it depends on the venue too, like how good the PA is. Like, you can shine a turd as much as you can.
Can't polish a turd. Oh, just throwing up. If you guys just do a line check.
Yeah.
That's most of the time. That's what I've done. Is just like we'll go up. You set your stuff up, and then you're like, okay, we got like guitar, stage left, stage right, bass. Everyone good? Cool. Let's go.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
mean, like, hot tip on that is figuring out, like, in rehearsal spaces, like, figuring out what your amp settings are in a rehearsal, what volume level to be at so that you're not overpowering the drums, how everything sounds good at a certain volume. So then you have a jumping off point for when you're going into a throw and go situation where it's like, no sound check, maybe a line, you get like a quick line check, and then it's like, all right, you're on. Like, then you're like, all right, I'm on, with a 100-watt head, I'm on 2.5, and that's, the other guitarist knows exactly what he's on during rehearsal, and then it's like, so guitars are balanced, we know where the bass is. Those are the things that you can control, and then you know that you're going to be able to hear at least yourself and probably some drums, and that's usually good enough for me.
Yeah, there was definitely points where I'd go play and it'd be a line check, and I'd be like, usually practice at like 2 or 3, and then all of a sudden in this place I'm cranked to like 5.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what the fuck? It's still not loud enough, and I'm just like, all right, whatever, and I just go with it. But that's your line check, It's like, I'm not gonna sit there and be finicky because we gotta play. We got 25 minutes, and for some reason, every band I've been in, hardcore band, has been like rush, right? Come on, let's go. We gotta go now. Come on. And I was like, okay, here we go. Plug in 5, not completely in tune, but we're gonna hit the first note, right? And it was like always like this sense of urgency, which always made me like really like, can we just get like a good 10 minutes so I can set my gear up? And then luckily those bands didn't have any gear. It was just like an amp, 2 pedals, and those were like a tuning pedal, and a noise gate, 2 Boss pedals. That's it for those bands. I didn't use any delays in any of that stuff. For other bands, I did, and that was definitely nerve-wracking. Where it's like you got to set up your pedal board, and because it's me, there's always something goes wrong. Like I have like a cable that goes wrong. I got Ghost in the Machine. I can't figure out where this like low end buzz is coming from. Is it a ground issue? Is it not? I got a pedal that I rewired myself, which is probably not done well. So that's another issue. So I'm like, it's like you have a two options. You have A and B. You have B here, who's like organized, got all this stuff ready to go, and then you got me, who'll stuff everything in a Target bag. Like a little plastic bag. I remember in Europe, in 2010, we did a European tour, HopeCon did. My cable case was a Target plastic bag that you'd get like, for like when you go to Target for your toothbrushes and stuff. Yeah. And I'd be carrying that in the airport. Everyone's like, where's your fucking cables and stuff? And pedals. Oh, here. I look like a bag lady, but it's like, that's just me, and it's not great. I was a bag lady. That was, yeah.
I can't deal, like, I'm messy in a number of ways, but like, when it comes to like being able to set up for a show efficiently and know everything's gonna work, like having the pedal board, knowing that, if there is a hiss, I have a solution for it. Like, I don't leave the same, cables on the board for more than a year. It usually gets swapped out after a while.
Wow.
Thank you, Tim Dove at Ernie Ball.
Oh, that was a suggestion?
Oh yeah. Their cables are incredible. They have new patch cables that are like these low profile cables. I'll put them up on the screen so
Nice.
you can see them. But there's like a pedal board kit, so it's got all the different lengths that you need,
Cool.
especially on like a limited board like I travel with. There's a couple different iterations of boards that I travel with, but and then cable snake, like,
Oh, that's a great idea. The cable's a good idea.
because I run stuff through my FX loop. I also run into the front of the amp, so having 3 cables going out from the front of the stage to the back of the stage, like, no. They get, tripped over, like people jumping on stage, or like singers are terrible with cables. They're the worst. They like to unplug everything. So just having the snake is amazing. Plus, like, if we're not headlining and we need to get off stage real quick, it's just, unplug 3 cables and then drag it off, and it's gone.
That's great. Yeah. I usually just had, I definitely have some patch cables that are probably 15 years old, so that could be a problem. I know that every time I was on the road, or like overseas especially, was my Target or my Walgreens or CVS plastic bag had my 2 pedals, 2 patch cables, and 2 guitar, like long guitar cables. That was it. And then a speaker cable just in case. That's all I had. And it was great, but then like sometimes when I was packing up, I put all this stuff, it was easy to pack it up really quick, and I just stuff it in that bag. And some rando would come over and be like, is this a bag of garbage? And I was like, those are my cables and and my pedals. And it was so like not like pro looking, but it got the job done.
Starting out, that's totally...
Yeah.
That's all you need. Like, I still have a lot of those cables, like from...
Oh, Spectraflex, remember those Spectraflex cables?
I think I have some Mars Music cables sitting around somewhere. Going way back. And
is Monster Cable's still around, right?
Actually, I don't think Monster is around anymore.
Oh yeah, because I
think the jig is up.
Yeah. Everyone's like, oh, Monster Cables. No, it doesn't really matter. Like the whatever they say, it's just, the extra sheathing on it has I'm not an electrician, but that shit doesn't.
I'm sure you could put something in a lab and find some sort of difference, but
don't spend a lot of money on cables, like, because that shit you're gonna lose, they're gonna break. Get some decent cables at first, but don't go all out and be like, I'm gonna buy this $100 cable. Like, I was in a band with a guitar player who insisted on Monster cables. Dude, it just makes everything sound better. I'm like, dude, bullshit. Unless you had, like, dB, like, measuring headphones or whatever. I don't even know. Or how do you measure electricity? Joules, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, bullshit.
Or something.
Just get...
Sounds good.
Yeah. If you can get the amp to work, that's fucking great.
That's great.
Hey, shut. Hey, shut.
Look at that. It's a lot better.
All right, cool.
You guys still have time. You're not approaching anybody, so let's go through maybe it doesn't have to be a full song. If it's something.
Let's do we can do a full song. We can do a full song. If it's short, let's do Bullet.
Okay. That's all short. Like a short one would be like.
Backing vocals.
We could do a full song.
Do it. Let's do one with backing vocals. We'll do Traditionaries.
So, we've talked a lot
about
we've talked a lot about, what it's like to not have a sound check. But the flip side of that is when you do have a sound check, normally you have to be there super early, and especially in the case of Punk Rock Bowling, where you're playing an after party in Vegas, in this instance, I think we sound checked at 6 p.m., went on stage at 2 a.m.
Holy shit.
Right? So...
2 a.m.?
What do you do?
That's the middle of the night for me these days. Right? It's like...
That was painful. That was truly painful.
No, Tijuana was painful. Remember that show? Speaking of, what do you do in between you show up to a show, you do a sound check, and then you wait.
Yeah, so Neeraj and I, as you've possibly heard through the intro music, have a band called God Collider, and you know we've done some short tours, and we did one down to Tijuana, and then came back, and it was.
Let's just say the promoter wasn't the most skilled at putting on a show.
It like super stoked.
Yeah. Great guy.
Great guy.
Super into it.
Heart was into it. Just didn't quite come together the way that any one of us, I'm sure, had hoped.
Did we go on at 1?
It was super late.
Oh god, we were just literally like just trying to kill time, and we were eating pizza. I know pizza in Mexico, but it was actually pretty good.
The pizza was good.
The whole little like kind of like
Oh yeah, we found this little enclave over
like weird
like a food court in like
a
a down an alley.
Yeah.
And there was I guess one of the other bands that was on the bill, we'll call them out. You know, there's pretty much anything that you want down in Tijuana, including you know, sex worker buildings and
that's true. Pharmaceuticals.
Pharmaceuticals,
Yes.
like whatever ails you can take care of down there.
So it's like it depends on where you are to do cool shit, I guess, if you have sound checks. I know in Europe when we had like on tour, sometimes we were in a cool city. I remember we were in a city called Bruges in Belgium, and we were playing like this like venue that made us like we sound checked, and they made us like this meal upstairs that has a dining area, and we're like, this is great. And we didn't play till like 11:30, but they're like, if you guys want to take bicycles and bicycle around the town, because it was like a really quaint medieval town, we're like, this is fucking awesome. As opposed to ending up in like Milwaukee, Wisconsin, you're like, what the fuck am I gonna do here? Even though I love Milwaukee.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very European thing, is to always have the food.
Yeah.
I don't think I can't remember a gig that didn't have food, and it's usually incredible food.
Great food, yeah.
Like,
unless you're doing like squats and stuff, then you're getting like punk rock stew, which is, I mean, but it gets
hit
the
or
job
miss,
done back
but
then,
it's good, and it's free, and that's a lot of the times what you need, because you're not making a lot of money.
not that much pasta in Europe, was there?
I don't know. I remember playing a squat in Milan that was, and by the way, just like when we say squats, realize that these clubs are probably better than 99% of the punk clubs in the United States. Like, you know, full PAs, monitors, like catering, and
decent
like,
bathrooms.
Yeah.
Like
that was always an adventure, especially like going all, you know, different countries and as different ages of the buildings, like
and
the hole in the floor,
different styles
like,
of toilets.
The hole in the floor.
That's Italy only, I think. Parts of Italy.
Well, in Eastern Europe.
Yeah. Because Asia, that's commonplace, except for Japan. But actually, if you go to rural Japan, they don't have Western toilets either. Just a little insight on.
Yeah, I think like Indonesia, there
Same
was
thing. They have whole toilets.
That was the whole. In Germany, I don't know what's going on.
They have a
with the
shelf.
poop shelf.
They have the shit shelf. Yeah. The shit shelf. I remember the poop shelf.
But like
We
the
digress.
food. Talking about the food, like pasta in Milan. That at one of the squat was just a dude preparing like. I don't think he made the sauce, and it was like pasta from a bag, and it was seriously a million times better than the best pasta and sauce that I've had here.
Yeah,
so.
We were playing a show in Bremen, and the promoter, you get there, it's pretty early, and I think it was like a cultural like jazz kind of club, and it was small, but it was like really fun. A lot of kids were there. But before that, he made us like just food, and it was just like just fresh like fruits and pasta salad and stuff, and I was just like, this food tastes amazing, and it never tastes like that here. It's probably because we go to fucking Taco Bell or Subway. That's the only options we had back in the day, as I'm dating myself again. There's no fucking Beyond Burger or fucking shit like that, you know? It's like if you're vegan or vegetarian, just fucking PB&J and hummus sandwiches. That shit sucked.
Yeah. God. Well, at this show, what was cool was it was a festival, so we were playing, you know, we did the sound check, and then went over and got to watch Circle Jerks.
Back in the day, we'd go to the local mall, or if you got in super early, you'd go to a movie. I remember we'd go to like 3 or 4 movies, you know, in the day.
Pay for one,
and just
or sneak into
yeah.
one, and then just sneak into the next one.
Now it's smartphones and all this other stuff. It's so different. You can watch a movie on your phone.
Right.
Sit in the van, you know. And it depends what kind of venue it is. Sometimes if you have a good green room, that's awesome. I'll just sleep on the couch, like watch TV or something on my phone. Or even back in the day, just like read something or take a nap. I love taking naps, so I just take naps.
Yeah.
But if you get there and there's no green room and you're just sitting in your van waiting for the show to go, that sucks. That's the part that sucks.
This one was actually pretty good. So it was at Backstage Billiards, so it's just kind of part of the complex. There's the Fremont Country Club and Backstage Billiards are right next to each other in the same building. And at the backstage green room, they actually had a really nice pool table in the green room.
Okay.
So it was great. Like hung out, played pool. They had vegan tacos and a truck in the back. So
Nice. I'm getting hungry. I should
know.
order some food right now.
So you know, but is that 8 hours worth of fun?
Yeah, no. At some point, you get to be like, God, I just want to fucking play and go to bed. Right? That definitely happens. But then when you get on stage, you're like, oh fuck yeah, these 20 minutes, I can't tell you how much of my life I've ruined for 20 minutes of fun a night.
Oh yeah. I think that's kind of the point to like drive home is like, it's really killing, I think there was a Seinfeld special of killing 23 hours or whatever.
Oh, really? I'm going through
Or
Seinfeld.
23 hours to kill, I think. Which is accurate, because it's,
Yeah, because that's right. Because you basically, stand up.
You get an hour.
It's an hour. If you're like a good stand-up,
if you're a headliner, there you go.
And same thing with the band. It's like, and I played in bands where if we played 20 minutes, we'd have to play the record again. Because we just didn't have enough, because their songs are like 1.5 minutes long, some of them, but, so you just kind of like, all the shit you put up with just to do that is crazy. Now we're talking about it in retrospect, I'm just like, I put off school, I quit jobs, that, I could have been in a way better place right now, like good retirement, I could have been having a nicer car, but I got to do a lot of things that a lot of other people don't get to do, I haven't got to do, which is really cool. And some of these experiences that we're sharing with you guys, hopefully, the younger kids can be like, oh, I want to do that too. It's going to be a little different for you guys since you guys got TikTok and all these other snazzy things like Snapchat and but I'm sure you'll have your own experiences too, but like
just being in a punk band and seeing that other punk bands were going to Europe. Like I was like, I want to go to Europe. I'll be in a band. Like there was it was so much more than just like, yes, I love playing guitar or bass or playing music, but the experience aspect of it, of getting out and even though this show was in Vegas and it's in a pandemic, like the whole sense of like, I mean, being able to say that, you've played on, I don't know, 3 different continents. I don't know how many continents you've been on, like, and, every state in America and driven cross country in Canada, been to, former Eastern European and Russian territories and like,
and if you haven't played a show or a Riot burst out, you haven't played a show.
Like the sketchier the situation,
you're gonna do the best.
Like
show ever.
it's like tragedy plus time equals comedy. So as long as you have the time in there and you don't die in the tragedy, it becomes really funny later on.
Oh yeah, we definitely played a show where someone pulled a machete on somebody in the pit out of their Jinkos. They were hiding a fucking machete in their Jinkos, apparently.
Oh yeah,
so it's like
played shows where people have died. Have played shows where
I think I've played one where. That's fucked up.
It wasn't a murder. It was a very unfortunate situation, but still, someone died in the middle of the show, which was horrible.
Show, was it?
No, this was in DC at the Wilson Center. A guy doing merch had a heart attack and died behind the merch table. But then, playing other shows where people have broken limbs and, we had definitely had the Riot shows, at our Darkest Hour record release show.
There was a Riot?
That turned into a Riot.
Where was the show at?
It was in College Park, Maryland at the church there.
Okay.
That was a big, it was this unicorn venue that had, just for whatever reason, there, we could play half hour down the road and, play to a couple hundred people, or, north, a couple hundred people playing this one spot, and it was just 1,000 people come out. And this is early on and playing shows, so it was just amazing. And then it was our record release show, and there was one of the crews, hardcore crews, that had a beef with some other person, decided to air that out in the middle of our first song coming on stage, and started throwing fireworks into the middle of the pit and broke out folding chairs and started smashing them over people's heads.
That's for real.
And so it was just blown out smoke, people bloodied, cops show up, and it was show's over. One song.
Damn, I've never had that story, but that's a good one. No, a good Riot must be in your touring history.
But looking back, all of those stories are what keeps me wanting to do that. And keeps me wanting, because there's still a million places that I haven't been to that I would love to go to. And it's all of that gets to happen in the time that you're not on stage. And even though the highlight a lot of the times is the time that you're on stage.
Younger, this is probably to younger musicians who are maybe, how do I play shows, or I want to start playing in a punk band, blah, blah, blah. And you just go play, but there's a lot of people on the reason why I'm bringing up TikTok or social media again is because there's a lot of friends that I know who work in that industry who are you get, these major labels or whatever bigger labels are picking up people from TikTok, but they don't have that much experience. They play on TikTok, but you see them live and you're this dude fucking blows, right? So you're okay, so get off the TikToks and I would urge you guys to play a show in your fucking garage.
Go out and do it.
Go out and do it, because that's the main thing. It's almost like a PSA for younger people. I used to be a high school teacher, so this is something that's in my realm of expertise, is to get kids to and younger musicians, promoters, whatever you want to do, even the music. It doesn't have to be as a musician, but DIY as much as you can, because that shit's gonna be the main thing to do. Because a lot of people I know that are in the positions that they are within the music world, most of them are DIY.
Yeah.
They started off DIY, and that's how they got to where they are.
It's try not to pay to play.
Yeah, don't pay to play. That's just stupid.
Just find a space, find people that are willing to promote, find friends that are willing to play. And
we'll put up, if we can, we'll put up links to places in LA that we know, venues that younger bands, if you guys are hit up, and maybe because we don't know we have a hard time getting shows if we want to play, but maybe if you're in a certain area that go play someone's garage, go play someone's backyard. We're trying to do a show in our backyard. We're gonna, there's a 7-second circle jerk show that I want to be in my backyard. Actually, the one in Chicago, I want to be in my parents' garage, which would be fucking amazing.
Man. Well, yeah, so hope y'all get out there and play. Hope there was something in there, some kernel, some little nugget of wisdom that inspired you to get up and play.
So we'll be having like these we'll be having those like, little like kind of like just informative like vlogs or like little vignettes of or pieces of video with like just sharing some of our experiences when we don't have like a guest that we're talking to. There's gonna be some stuff coming up. There's gonna be a website that you can go to where everything will be kind of aggregated together, so you can go to there'll be links to the YouTube site, there'll be links to the podcast, there'll be links to some of the vlogs, but all of it's going to be centered on, you'll be able to find everything on YouTube, but this is another thing where we might have like links to gear, links to other stuff that we talked about. There's definitely going to be maybe I shouldn't say definitely, but maybe a penalty box section where it's like, these guys, like Morrissey would be in the penalty box. He's permanently in the penalty box, like that kind of thing. Foreseeable future. I don't think he's coming out of the penalty box. He's permanent. Yeah, is that a red card in soccer? Yeah, he's a total permanent red card. That dude. Yeah. So that'll be more the comedy piece of it, and then we'll have pictures of our cats. So we're cat dudes.
And I guess we'll leave you with some footage of the show out in Vegas to see what happens after the sound check and all the waiting. Till next time.
Later.
So much fun. I almost lost my voice, and Lower Class Brats was fucking amazing. I had so much fun, dude. And I met this band, Lower Class Brats. Man, it was so freaking awesome.